Call the ambulance. Call the ambulance. But not for me. Arm with 9 arms going like I'm the line, guys.
Revenge tastes best while wearing a dress. I know we all had the same thought.
We did.
What did we just watch?
What the fuck did we just watch?
And maybe this is the most pretentious movie of all time. Welcome back, guys, to the 5th episode of the Film Informers podcast. Jordan, we've got 5 episodes in, bro.
We sure did, man. Came so fast, but
Yeah,
happy to be here,
That's
man.
what she said.
That is what she said.
And today we're going to be talking all about legendary director Francis Ford
Fucking
Coppola's movie Megalopolis, which, wow.
That is something. Yeah, wow. Literally, wow. Aubrey Plaza's character.
Wow, yeah, that is the character name in this movie. Played by the wonderfully gorgeous. Is it Aubrey or Audrey?
I think it's Aubrey. Yeah,
Aubrey Plaza. I fell in love with her way back in Parks and Rec.
Never seen Parks and Rec. Well, I've seen the first season.
What?
Of Parks and Rec, like multiple times.
April Ludgate, dude.
Oh man, Aubrey Plaza in just general.
But Jordan, you watched the freaking Godfather.
I sure did the other night.
OG Godfather. How did you? When was the last time you'd watched it?
The last time I had watched The Godfather before the other night was when I was about 16. I was about around 16.
Really? It's been that long?
It's been that long. Like,
frick, yeah.
The Godfather is I've never seen the third one, but
that is okay.
That's what I hear, but
Yeah.
I do want to watch it still. So
Yeah.
my parents showed me Godfather 1 and Godfather 2, and I liked it a lot back then, but I never got the rewatches for me, so my memory just kind of like faded of it, and every time someone was like, The Godfather's really great, and I'm like, I like that movie too, but I could never really like dive into why that movie's great.
It's been so long. Yeah.
Movie's fucking great.
It is.
It is amazing, and I learned very quickly why it is one of the most iconic movies of all time.
Even though it is memed to hell, it's still
sure
a
is.
movie you can watch and enjoy, which I feel like
Absolutely.
some movies lose the enjoyment value once they're memed, especially classics that can be cheesy. The Godfather's not cheesy. Like it's
not at
grounded in like a crazy realism.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that the meme ability of it make it seems people haven't seen it. It makes it seem like it's like over the top. It's not. I also loved, obviously seeing Al Pacino grow into his own throughout the movie was great. Marlon Brando, like Vito Corleone, one of the best characters in film history. The man was just a straight up family man.
Yeah.
Like through and through.
He was.
And like he died.
Good, true-hearted Italian.
He died doing something he loved. He died being the world's greatest grandpa. And I thought that was so sweet.
Bro.
Like that movie, if you've
Tom.
never seen The Godfather, and I know like I've seen The Godfather. As a lot of you, I'm sure, have not seen The Godfather.
Rewatch the fucking Godfather.
It's amazing. Remind yourself why it's fucking amazing.
And
right?
you have and you too, Jay. You got to get to part 2 because part 2 is even fucking better.
You said the other day when we talked about it, when I texted you, that part 2 is one of your favorite movies.
Yeah,
ever.
top 2 I think is one of the best movies ever made.
At some point
hands
this weekend, it's a 3.5 hour movie. So, but at some point within the week, I will watch Godfather Part 2.
Because you basically get 2 movies. You get the continuation of Michael's rise to becoming the Don, and then you get the prequel Don Corleone film with De Niro, which is basically a whole film based on runtime, and it's just amazing. Like De Niro and Al Pacino at the top of their game, back to back. Oof. Francis Ford Coppola, I love, and we watched this semi-recently together, Apocalypse Now.
Earlier this year. Yeah, I loved it.
That was this year?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, Marlon Brando, again, top of his game.
Absolutely.
Even though it was just for like 2 scenes.
He's still great, though.
Very iconic.
Oh, yeah. He chewed up screen time when he was on there. Who's the main
I've probably watched this movie once a year. I've watched it with Caitlin and then with Drew and then with you.
Oh, nice.
So I have a really good memory of this film, and I haven't seen a lot of Francis Ford Coppola films, which, as I've learned today, he's got a lot of movies out and a lot of panned movies, a lot of really poorly reviewed movies. So it makes sense that I hadn't really thought about him until the whole Cannes Film Festival Megalopolis screening kind of took the world by storm.
For good and bad. Literally, like good and bad ways.
Yeah, and I was hoping that it would be enough of a movie to at least cause some sort of trending for how crazy it is, and I don't know if it's going to live up to that. I don't know if it's going to do well in the box office, which is sad. And I'm kind of getting off the rails here, but going into just the crazy budget of this movie.
And you told me his money that he put up for it.
As far as I'm aware, it's mostly like 90% backed by him. Now, I could be wrong on that, but I do know this man is millions and millions and like many millions of dollars in the bucket on this movie right now. And yeah, that's just crazy, man. $120 million budget.
That is insane. And watching the movie, the visuals are great. I'm not going to say they're like, well, some of the visuals are great. I don't see the 120 million.
Nope.
So you agree, because we
Nope.
we didn't talk about that at all after
Nope.
the movie. And I'm like, how is this $100 million movie?
Craziness.
It's crazy.
Craziness.
Like maybe the cast, but even the cast I don't think would warrant that.
Is there anything you want to get into about Francis Ford Coppola before we start, Jordan?
I can't, because like you, I was not aware that he did this many movies, and obviously I've only seen Godfather 1, Godfather 2, and Godfather 2 not even recent, and then Apocalypse Now. And then I did see
You saw Dracula?
I saw Dracula back
That's
in the day
another
too.
big release from him.
Oh, for sure. And I didn't know that was him until before this show. So as far as Francis, I don't have a good general opinion on him other than that I respect him so much because obviously he's an icon for a reason.
Right.
And I just watched one of his movies that is gonna make my one of the best movies I've ever seen of the year list. But going into Megalopolis,
Right, it's true. I mean, just to agree with you there before you move on, is even if those 4 movies, if we're including Godfather Part 3, is all he's known for, he's still going down in the Hall of Fame.
for sure.
Because he's made 4 of the
Some
most
of the
successful
iconic movies of all time, man.
Right.
Like,
so I think that it's still acceptable to view this guy as the legend, which I definitely do. I still view him
100%
as a visionary.
Absolutely, because if you like, dude, The Godfather. I don't want to backtrack on The Godfather, but so many movies that you love, watch The Godfather. Like so many movies that you love have and I'm talking mobsters and all have been influenced by The Godfather, and like it kind of blew my mind watching that shit.
Yeah, the influence it's had on film since then is just insane. It's
absolutely insane, man.
But Megalopolis,
yeah,
is a vision that I don't think fully made it there.
No,
onto the screen.
Unfortunately not. I was kind of hoping. I knew it was gonna be weird. Like we all knew it was gonna be really weird. I was just hoping that there was gonna be more cohesion and an actual like story to follow and a narrative and characters with clear cut motivations.
I really wonder if there
happened.
is a narrative there. Like how much is this movie able to be read into to find a plot is, I think, what's going to make this movie more interesting down the line. Now, I'm not like ready to go watch it again, Jordan, but
oh no,
I'm thinking that if there was an explanation video on YouTube, a video essay for this movie, I cannot be the guy to make it as of yet, and I want to see the first person to do that.
I would watch that
because I feel like I need lots of explanation.
Lots and lots of explanation
for many things.
Here's the thing, though. We're saying right now that the narrative, there's really like no narrative. If you kind of break it down, I guess you can say the closest thing to the narrative is that Adam Driver's character, Caesar, wants to make a new utopia. He wants to make a perfect utopia, and that is in the future, and like very future realistic and everything. And obviously, Giancarlo, the mayor Cicero, wants to keep it the same way, and it's them like butting, like those two ideologies like butting heads the whole movie. And then you have Julia, who they fall in love and everything. So it's like a weird family dynamic that could have been there, but there's just so much. I know it sounds mean, but so much nonsense along that path that it just strays from the political butting of the heads that I think it could have just been that if he would have done that. Yeah. But unfortunately it didn't happen because there's a lot more that happened in this movie.
Yeah. I definitely from the start saw the similarities to obviously the rise and fall of Julius Caesar, which I think is going to be kind of the rock of this film's foundation, at least from maybe an early script he had for this film, because it definitely seems like it's been through many chopping blocks and rewrites. And I think that Caesar very much represents Caesar. Cicero represents kind of the House of Rome and the Republic. And if you're familiar with the story of Julius Caesar, I think that you will kind of have an early thing to grasp onto in this film. But I don't want to get too ahead here before we really start trying our best to walk through hand in hand, Jordan. We're going to have to hold hands for this one.
We really will.
This is going to be the hardest movie for us to digest. And it kind of gave us pause for like a good... We actually had to start this podcast over again.
We did, because we just didn't know how to approach it.
Because we went into the start so off the wall on what to say about this movie. Because it is that kind of movie, man. It'll leave you speechless. In not a good way.
No,
in a
not
terrible
a good way. In a very terrible way. And it's like it's unfortunate that neither one of us have like, because we don't like this movie, but neither one of us have like a strong disdain for it. You know,
right?
Like,
it's definitely, because The Crow was easily torn apart.
Oh yeah,
this movie, it's like
apart.
I don't know what to really dive into, which is why we're gonna try to do.
We're gonna try. It's like he kind of made a movie for him, and I respect that. I really do.
It's a passion project.
It is a passion project
very
for
much
him
from the heart. Yeah,
and that he's tried to make. I don't know the exact amount, but I know he's tried to make this movie for decades.
Yeah, I think it was like 4 decades.
Which is, I'm legit.
I'm
happy.
guessing that's from the start of writing the script, or even just the early thoughts of the script.
The first of many drafts.
Because he's done many movies in the last 40 years. But Adam Driver, I mean, okay, great cast. We can say that at least. I mean,
sure.
This movie
Great
drew
cast.
in a fantastic cast, and I'm assuming that's where a good bit of that $120 million budget this movie
Come be in my movie, eh?
was to these A-list actors that are sometimes extremely underutilized, or even like, why were you cast for this character that had 2 lines, Jason Schwartzman? Like, why were you in this movie at all? You had 2 lines.
That was Jason Schwartzman. Holy shit. Continue. But
yeah.
That just clicked.
Why
in my
is
head.
Lawrence Fishburne a glorified butler in this movie?
And the narrator.
And, okay, I appreciate it when I realized it was Lawrence Fishburne, which he will not let you miss that in the movie.
No.
He will not, because it's the only fourth wall break of the whole film.
Oh, you're talking about where he's just like, I like her.
He just he talks to you. He talks to the audience.
He pretty much
and
does.
it's during a voiceover, and the voiceover stops, and he continues his own sentence, and it's like, oh, Lawrence Fishburne is the voiceover. Cool. I haven't understood whatever the fuck this voiceover has been talking about for the whole goddamn film. It is telling a story that we are not seeing. At least,
not at all.
I mean, the voiceover, as well as much of the dialogue, it's
riddles, man.
It is drunk poetry. Yeah, it's drunk poetry. It is not cohesive, and maybe unless you have a philosophy degree, this potentially is a movie written for people with only philosophy degrees. And that is also a hard why I don't want to go into this movie immediately bashing it, because part of me feels like, what if I'm just not intelligent enough, to understand this movie, and maybe this is the most pretentious movie of all time, and there's actually some meat buried in there that he didn't want anyone who didn't have a master's in philosophy to understand, because the whole movie seems like quotes from great philosophers. I don't know if any of this is original philosophy, but they reference themselves quoting great philosophers throughout the film.
They do.
And I'm not fantastic with name dropping philosophers' quotes on the whim as much as I wish I was. But they're doing that in this movie. And most of that, as well as most of what I assume to be the plot building conversations, easily just go over the audience head. We are going to be getting into a full review of Megalopolis, and it will be us breaking down the whole movie, so there will be spoilers. If you would like to get to a spoiler-free review, you can skip to the end of the episode, and we'll give a few minute breakdown of just our feelings on the film after we've digested it and talked about it. But we are going to walk through the film with you guys.
Hold our hands for this one, guys, because come along on this weird journey.
So the movie opens up with Adam Driver, great actor, love him. He is playing Caesar Catalina, who again does represent the Julius Caesar of this narrative, as far as I could tell. He is immediately established to have what can only be explained as a physical superpower.
He literally calls it his power. Like, I lost my power. Yeah.
He can stop time.
Correct.
Which is pretty cool. I mean, off the bat, that is not a bad opening. I was like, this is cool.
It was shot well, like, and everything.
It quickly progresses to him destroying a building, right?
Right.
And while this building is being destroyed, he stops time again. Someone else is able to see
Julia.
The physics of time stopping. Julia.
Yep.
We're introduced to Julia Cicero, and she's out there partying with Shia LaBeouf at a nightclub. They're dancing on a unicorn.
They sure are.
It's very much, if you've played The Witcher 3, the unicorn sex scene between Yennefer and Geralt.
It really is, but less sexy than the Witcher sex scene, though.
Not as sexy.
Because instead of hot Yennefer and hot Geralt, you have Shia LaBeouf. You got Shia LaBeouf. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, he's doing this the whole time, and just like he's casting spells, and I'm like, all right, cool. So this is gonna be this type of performance.
I'm hoping that Shia LaBeouf is sober in real life, but
me too.
Part of me thinks maybe he was on drugs for this entire film, and if not, it was good acting.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's always great. Like, he's always fantastic.
We talked about him last week. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's fantastic. And guys, I apologize. There will be a lot of rambling while breaking down this film, because the movie in itself rambles throughout its own plot. I'm gonna have to just start reading my notes for this exact word for word, because I'm already at a loss here. The city fights over the land that the building was blown up on, and they're all they're having like a city meeting, which to me, because I was already sort of grasping onto this is going to be there's going to be a lot of references to Rome here, because the city they're in is called New Rome. It has kind of a grand Roman entrance to the film, you know?
And even though I didn't understand all the references, like, because you're like delving into Rome culture and stuff and history, I still like those vibes. Like, I really did. Like, I was on board for this part of the movie, yeah.
But essentially, they were kind of having like what would have been a Senate meeting of the Republic
pretty much
back in the day. Like, all the important people are here. It was a weird location.
I was about to say, it's the most unique business meeting location I've ever seen.
And I guess this kind of does foreshadow to later on in the film one of my favorite scenes when he ends up falling in love with Julia, and they're on the kind of support beams that are being just magically somehow dangled over the city skyline.
That's a good callback, though.
And they're on these basically support beams standing over a model of New Rome. And there is Cicero, played by
Giancarlo Esposito, Mayor Cicero.
Gus Fring, as I will always know him to be.
And he's always a banger. He's always great.
He is Mayor Franklin Cicero, correct? And if you are familiar with, again, Julius Caesar's storyline, Cicero was one of the most influential spokespersons of the Julius Caesar era of Rome. So it's already kind of a callback to Cicero is a man of the Senate. He is a man of the city, right? And his vision of the city kind of matches that of what we would consider to be a very progressive democratic, right? Like, he wants the finances and any support the city has going to be supporting the lower classes, which is a good cause. And off the bat, there's not really a decided good or evil in this effort between Caesar and his dream of a new Megalopolis, which is what he kind of explains that he wants to build. He wants to build this utopia from the ground up. And to achieve his dream, he is destroying houses and destroying basically projects.
He is.
Ghettos to get there.
Homes.
Which that already really kind of does introduce a pretty philosophical debate, you know. Is this worth his dream? They plant even more seeds in this scene, and they plant a really important, pivotal, plot device in this film, which is the death of Caesar's wife.
Correct.
Caesar's wife at some point died, and we learn that Mr. Cicero was the judge, essentially, the prosecutor over this case where Caesar was prosecuted for
murdering his wife.
So
which you never want to do that.
Guilty of murdering his wife.
Yeah.
But he's not in prison at this point. He is actually a member of the most richest, prestigious family in New Rome, which is the Hamilton. Mr. Hamilton, played by
John Voight.
John fucking Voight.
Who's always fun.
Yes.
Anytime I see him in movies, he's always
We
fun.
also talked about him last week in Transformers.
We sure did. a lot of recurrent themes here.
Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf's character Claudio is actually the son of Hamilton, and and cousins to Caesar.
Which again definitely ties into the Roman Empire, because in the Roman Empire, the Senate members are of the great houses, so they're all related. So it makes sense that they're all intertwined, and there is a lot of bitterness and resentment
and
inside of
greed
there
that
becomes a central plot point in this film. So off the bat of the conversation, I'm like, this movie's making more sense than ever. But again, this is the first 5 minutes of the movie, guys.
Yeah.
All right. So there is way more perversion of what we are grounding the concepts of the film at the most basic core. But don't get excited, because the film fucks it all up.
It fucks it all up. It really, really does.
It goes off the fucking deep end. But based on this scene, it's like, man, the movie could have went in a good direction. This
for
could
sure
have been a phenomenal storyline. And I think that somewhere in the past, this movie was going to be great. And the story was going to be great. But goddamn, it misses the mark.
I can see that, especially since he does like so many different things that really
He's
have
bouncing a lot of fucking ideas off the wall.
Themes, and some of them don't do this and
not meshing at all.
And so this is kind of what I was trying to explain, but doing a very poor job when we initially got out of the theater. And I'm like, I feels like there's a skeleton of a cohesive narrative here that's great.
Yeah.
And like you said, years and years and years, this movie's been on the shelf, and he's probably like, well, I'm not going to get a chance to put this idea in a movie, so I'm going to.
Yeah, it's my last movie.
I'm doing everything that I've ever wanted to say into a movie, and just whatever comes out, comes out.
So the next scene is Caesar at home with
Platinum.
Platinum. What a like fucking James Bond character name. Platinum.
Platinum, and she is Platinum.
And yeah, she represents the Bond villain character in this film as well. So we learn that Caesar's a drug addict at this point, which again is a lost plot point. I don't feel like that really comes up.
Other than that one scene where in the club where he gets not shot,
where he gets all fucked up.
That's
You're
other
right.
than that.
I guess that's a good point, because that is a crucial scene. But we keep learning that he's haunted by visions of his dead wife. That is who he's truly in love with. He's not in love with he refers to her as his mistress, right? And we also know that Platinum, from the previous scene where everyone was together at the, I guess, City Hall, she is a journalist. She's a news anchor who is very much obnoxiously well known for her hotness, right? She's playing that off, and they're making fun of the newscaster being a hot woman playing it, and it also makes it kind of seem more like a podcast. Like there's no one controlling her. Like she's fully in charge of the journalism here, and her ratings are falling. She refers to herself as like her identity, not like as a corporate station. She's like, my ratings are falling. I got to do this, So that was something kind of interesting, and in the futuristic utopian sense that this movie's trying to
where
hit.
the news is. I wonder if he was trying to say, that's a good point. I wonder if he was trying to say like this is where he sees news heading, like where he sees those type of anchors like heading.
Right, or like the headline media is just this hot chick who doesn't have much to say. She's not a good interviewer, and she's just over here manipulating the media. She's got connections to all the big players. Sleeping with Caesar again, who is one of the richest people in the city.
And she continues throughout the movie, as we'll talk about, dipping her toe into every single pot she can possibly dip her toe into.
So Julia does end up going to see him at his home, but again, I really couldn't tell you why she came to him outside of her seeing him stop time. Like the dialogue in this scene is... So it's that drunk poetry. Like I don't feel like you need a philosophy degree to understand what the fuck these people are talking about. It doesn't really go anywhere for me, other than the fact that she's interested in him, and she learns about, or at least we as the audience learn about the design authority, which is kind of a very phantom group that
the design authority. Oh,
that is the group that is building Megalopolis. That is his his organization, his business, I guess.
And the only recollection I have of that is when Lawrence Fishburne's character picks up the phone and he says that. What was it called?
The Design Authority.
The design authority.
Yeah, that is the group that is working. I guess the group of scientists working together to build.
See, I completely went over my head
to build Megalopolis. And they introduce in the scene as well Megalon, which is this new substance that they're using to build Megalopolis, and they kind of dive into. We talked about this coming out of the theater. It's like essentially related to like a jellyfish's body, like the way a jellyfish kind of, it's translucent and it flows, and that's like what this new material is, and that which is weird.
That very weird, so weird that it went over my head.
And it's hard to catch. It's hard to catch, as is everything in this dialogue, the way they're speaking.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. But like as it was hard to catch, I was just like, why is she talking about a jellyfish? I was like, I don't know why.
The fuck is the jellyfish coming from?
Where does the jellyfish come from? Although I will say, one thing I do appreciate that scene where she goes visit him. I liked what he did with when she's walking through. Obviously, it's like
the model of Megalopolis. Yeah.
And when she's walking through it, and then you see the dreamlike stuff happening, and then you see like his vision. I like that.
Yeah.
That part, even though it kind of like seems like she could see it too, which makes no sense, but like.
Well, I think again, because she's in this world, like she sees him stop time, she sees him break physics, so there's obviously some sort of deep connection they have, which I think is kind of represented through their names. Right, her name is Julia Caesar.
Right.
Julius Caesar. You know what I'm saying? Like if you combine them together, they represent Julius Caesar, right? As a couple.
Oh snap!
So at this in this same scene, Julia kind of agrees to be a part of this new world. Like he like invites her to step into it, right? And she walks through a model of Megalopolis, very much, kind of calling back to the previous scene with the model of New Rome, right? But she's there with her eyes closed, just envisioning this new world, very much mentally but physically as well. Because with her eyes closed, she's walking through his model without stepping on anything.
His vision, right? Which I loved.
Which I thought was like unrealistic. It's fucking stupid. But when we're talking about it, we're buying into the fact that okay, they're together. They have the same mind.
They're pretty much the same one. Yeah, they are one.
They are Julius Caesar.
Caesar
as himself. So she's very interested in him. So she decides, I'm gonna follow his bitch ass. What's up with this guy? Like, did this guy murder his wife? Is he crazy? So she follows him. And again, all the things I just said there, I'm adding all of that. Like that wasn't ever spoken into the script of why I'm following this. It's just the next scene she's following him.
So we just assume.
Yes, there is a lot of assumptions that must be made that we are adding here in our conversation. So Julius is following Caesar. And at this point, we see that Claudius, Shia LaBeouf, is also following Julia. I called her Julius, but her name's Julia. He's following Julia. And so at this point, we kind of learn that not only are they friends, but he is obsessed with her. Like he's in love with this girl to the point where he is obsessively following her.
Yes.
At nighttime to see where she's going. He sees somehow with the big old Jack Sparrow telescope. And I could not piece together the physicality of the follow scene makes no fucking sense here. Because he somehow, with a big scope like this, looking down, I'm just going Jack Sparrow now. But it's not even Jack Sparrow. What the fuck? But he sees, she's following Caesar, which is his cousin, again, because they're all fucking related. And he is jealous,
He is jealous.
Very jealous.
And that's the first inkling of any kind of character narrative for him you get in the movie. Because at that point, you had leaned over to me and was like, what the fuck is Shia LaBeouf? Character, like what is he doing in this movie?
What is his place in this movie?
What is his place in this movie? And that's the first time, because he gives the middle finger to Caesar. That's the first time you're like, okay, so he's resentful of Caesar. He doesn't like Caesar, and he's in love with Julia, who clearly Julia is interested in Caesar. So that's I guess just added to his hatred for Caesar.
And I wrote here in my notes that there is another dreamy sequence, which I guess I have to go back and kind of say that when Caesar is having his like visions of his future of Megalopolis, it's all presented in this very dreamlike interesting, unique visuals that this movie presents, which is one of the things I do appreciate. Sometimes it is overdone in the last act, progressively way too much. But in the beginning, I was like, "This is cool." Like, what is Megalopolis? Like when it was still a mystery, it was better than in the end when we actually saw it, and it was like not really working. But we'll get there. So there's another dreamy sequence, which. Unfortunately, we had a great conversation about this that was lost in footage there, and what we kind of came to understanding here that some of the dream sequences that we're seeing unravel in present time may, and again we're assuming here, me and Jordan are assuming here, may be related to the fact that Caesar has the ability to stop time and that he is somehow walking in the past. But in the present enough to where maybe only Julia sees like the flower bouquet, which is on a random street in the middle of what looks like the Bronx, right? Like the New York ghetto is kind of where they're at in the scene. They're driving through what Caesar calls purgatory for some reason.
The more we talk about it, the more I actually think that's probably what he was going for.
I think so,
because if you tie the fact that she can see the flower stand, the shiny flower stand, that she can see his dead wife, in whenever he goes up into the room and everything. And
I want to back up just a little bit on the scene, Jordan, because I feel like this is it's actually a cool thing that we can appreciate about this scene. And again, to start to establish how the scene, basically, it's nightlife, right? Like they're out in the town, they're out in the city at night, and Lawrence Fishburne, who's Caesar's like butler, asks him where he wants to go, and he's like, "Do you want to go to?" He says, "Like, do you want to go to Hades or do you want to go to?" Does he say heaven or hell?
I think he says heaven or hell. Yeah.
And he says, "Let's go to purgatory," which he seems to know what this is, and this is him bringing him to see his, the home. I guess the home where he lived at with.
That's how I took
with
it,
his wife, before she died. So. There's this random. They're driving through again what seems like the Bronx, and there's these big Roman statues.
What the fuck was
that? Yeah, that like are moving. Which again, they're probably not. It's probably all in Caesar's head, but it presents them almost as like lifelike figures that are like tired of this fucking shit. Like take me down. It's almost like he's like that's his reasoning for feeling okay about deleting the slums, deleting the lower class projects and to build Megalopolis. It's like he's seeing these personified statues of old time and what seems like maybe it was old Rome, because he used to live here, I guess, which now is the ghetto, right? So it used to be potentially like the center of life for Rome, which is now gone to shit. So maybe that plays into the fact that he's like okay, like morally deleting this landscape from existence.
You talking about specifically the godlike statues coming down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes the most sense because I could not make I did not understand that at all. But that makes the most sense.
That's me just trying to assign some sort of understanding there.
Well, I think we've established that's all we're doing right now.
But it is visually cool. Like it looked really fucking cool.
Yeah,
and that was another thing in the trailer that I was like, what is that? Like I'm curious. And when it happens, it's like, all right, not going to be explained. I'm just going to have to accept that. And here we are. So he ends up at this home with his dead wife. Again, Julia is following him, and she sees him buying flowers, bringing it up to her, kind of fixing her dress, touching her cheek, and she looks like she's not even a corpse. It looks like she's just sleeping, right?
Right.
But she's not there, right? It's all in his head. And Julia learns that he is not an evil person. He's in love with his wife, right? He's still in love with her. So obviously, why would he be guilty of murdering her? So she automatically assigns innocence to Caesar in this scene. And after this scene, there is one of many time skips through the movie, which when the time skips came, I was always like, fuck, like, wow, we're going to leap forward in a story that I'm already having trouble clinging on to. And it's a montage of events and it's a terrible like B-movie level budget montage. Like the way they are like interlacing scenes, like, going from translucent to non-translucent. Like, I don't know. I just was not, it did not feel like a 120 million big ass budget A movie montage, if that makes any sort of
no,
sense.
not at all. Like, I don't mean to sound, it just it came off as like you said, amateur, like B-movie amateurish.
Right. This
Like-
is the most expensive B movie ever made.
Oh, 100%. And it doesn't help that these montages are the characters that are inhabiting these montages and who have the most dialogue is side characters you don't give a fuck about.
At this point, it's like, what are they do? Like, what is their plot? Like, what are they doing here in the plot?
And a lot of them just
like you brought up Dustin Hoffman.
What was he?
Who is he?
You brought up Jason Schwartzman's character.
Why was he in the movie?
Just over and over again, just useless dialogue.
And Lawrence Fishburne could very well be one of those guys, except the fact that he's a voiceover, and it kind of makes it feel like more personal.
That's pretty much it, though.
That's all you get.
Yeah, because I don't even think him and Caesar, do they have Lawrence Fishburne? I didn't even talk about this until now. Does Caesar and Lawrence Fishburne have a scene together where they, other than
him being a butler? No, there's not really any like emotional, resounding moments between them.
Didn't think so.
Relating to each other or anything, or like even really talking about the city or like Megalopolis. Like, nah. So after the time skip, we end up with Wow Platinum, Miss Beautiful Plaza, and Hamilton getting married. She's hitching her wagon to the richest guy in the city. Obviously, in a previous scene with Caesar, she talked about how her ratings were dropping. So this is probably her next move to get relevant again. And even in like their wedding pictures, she's like shaking her ass for the camera, and she's obviously just that girl.
She is
that bitch, But it's a big event. Everyone's there. All the families. They have gladiators. It's like they're at the Roman Colosseum. This is like, let's go to the famous Roman Colosseum, right? Except it's fucking crazy weird. And this is where the movie started to lose me.
Oh, yes. 100%.
Yeah. Started to lose me here. The gladiators are like WWE, like not even WWE. That's too like official. They're more like lucha libre, like nacho libre type shit.
But they're doing like hurricanranas and they're doing wrestling moves.
Yeah.
And I was so lost. I was so lost, man.
Me too. And like all the characters there and like their motives are all really unclear. Caesar is just getting fucked up, he's getting high, he's getting drunk, like he's just having himself a good time. He's a party boy apparently, which
you don't know
until that doesn't make sense to me as far as him representing Julius Caesar. Because as far as I'm aware, Julius Caesar was not known for being a crazy drunk. So I have a hard time understanding what like Caesar's full character in the grand scheme of things here. It doesn't really play a huge role in the plot outside of this scene and where the scene kind of ends up, which is again through a just fucking weird turn of events. Are you thinking about his hands
in the bag?
I'm thinking about everything in this scene. Like, it's so hard to summarize the scene because it is delivered so sporadically and just randomly. We're introduced to Vesta Sweetwater, who it turns out to be a pretty huge plot device at this point. I mean, she's not a character in the movie outside of this being a plot device here. But people are pledging to her virginity, which, again, we're confused. We kind of talked at dinner about this after. Like, were people paying to have sex with her, or were they just giving her money for being a good Samaritan and being a virgin and being a virtuous woman, which is another thing that you could relate to Rome, because in this time, like, a woman's virginity was like their fucking is what they're worth. If they weren't virgins, they weren't worth you selling them to a rich household for money, which is what you did with women back in Rome. That was their purpose.
Well, if they have the Roman ties, then it's probably that, and not what I said, because I was the one who was just like, I think they're bidding to have like take her virginity. That's
because that's a real thing. People do that in real life.
They do.
So that's why it makes a lot of sense that you went there, because it's like that could very well be what they're doing in this weird, fucked up high Rome society.
Yeah.
But very mad is Claudio, old Shia LaBeouf again, who's he's wearing a woman's Roman outfit, dressed up as like a little pretty angel.
Best part of the movie, though.
It was huge laugh from us right off the bat.
For sure.
He is at this point. He hates Caesar just because of the fact that Julia's into him. Like, that's really, they could have developed that a little more, because it seems a little petty. He makes the sound guys play a sex tape, which is again probably AI generated. It doesn't seem like it's real. It's later debunked, but it's not explained why. And it's Caesar himself having sex with young Vesta, who's supposed to be 16 years old. So that turns into a riot. For some reason, Cicero just starts spewing hatred for Caesar, using this moment as a huge political moment, which seems rather unfortunate timing. Again, this is a wedding party. Now there's a sex tape scandal, and now you're over here making it a political thing. Like, not cool, Mayor.
All in
Cicero,
the same scene.
not cool. All in the same scene. While at the same time, Caesar's not even in the room because he's on fucking cloud 9, bro.
He's on cloud 9 with fucking his arm with 9 arms going. It's like, dude, he's just doing weird dances, and there's like 10 arms behind him doing the same dance, and it's really weird. And the AI generated sex tape. Well, I'm saying like it's AI because I think you're probably right. It's AI generated. She did not look 16 in that.
No.
So I just wasn't buying it off rip. So I was so confused. And then obviously you come to find out that it's fake. But even in its fakeness, I don't think they did a good job at making it look real or fake or at all.
No. Yeah, so by this point, I know we were both hella confused.
So confused.
We were both really confused. And then Caesar gets arrested, and there's another time skip. After already being like, what the fuck's happening? Boom, another time skip. And then it skips to Julia being the main focus again. She's trying to discover if this Vista Sweetwater is actually 16. Turns out she's not 16. She's 23. The whole thing was fabricated. Caesar is released from prison. So don't know really why this was a central point of the movie. Don't really know why.
Other than to create some tension between Cicero and
between Cicero and Claudia. Yeah.
But it was already there though. So I don't know why it didn't add to anything.
Like, not only now did he murder his wife, but now he's a pedophile.
Correct. And so the only thing that comes up with that is that Hamilton, John Voight's character, who is Claudio's dad,
and like the richest guy in the city.
Yeah, the richest guy in the city. So he scolds him and he's like, "You need to cut your hair and you need to be a better man." And
right, because this is his cousin that he's fucking over.
Correct.
It's his nephew. So he's like, "Why'd you fuck over your cousin? Why'd you put him in jail?"
To be fair, I say it because it's not really, it doesn't explain anything. But you guys wished it could have had some more delve deeper into Caesar's and Claudio's, like why Claudio resents him so much. Hamilton has a passing line in this same scene that we're talking about where he's just like, "You had it out for Caesar since you were 6." So, but it's like a very small passing line. But the point is, that's the only scene you get anything like that.
Yeah.
So even I'm trying to make sense of the sex tape plot line, subplot, and that's as far as it goes.
All I know is we get the best line of the movie.
I was waiting for you to bring it up,
which is revenge tastes best while wearing a dress.
But you got to say it like because he was really excited to deliver that line.
Revenge tastes best while wearing a dress,
and he just straight up looked like the Joker. Yeah, like straight up looked like the Joker, and
he had a lot of fun with that.
Oh, you can tell he had a lot of fun with that, and I'm glad for him because it was hilarious. Like it really was hilarious to watch.
And also in this time skip to Caesar being in jail. There's another montage where Vestas, and this is so unnecessary, but it randomly throws this in there. It shows her rebrand her image into now she's a sex icon. Remember, that was so fucking random.
That was her.
It's
rock
the only
sex
thing
icon?
that makes sense. It's because there's this random sex icon, but it looks like her, and I'm pretty sure it's her.
No, it does.
And it's like showing us that she took the fact that she was in a sex tape and made it her identity, and then it had some random news headlines like teen pregnancy surges up, like fucking so random. I was like, what? I wrote that down. I was like. Vestas rebrands her image as a sex icon, and then teen pregnancy skyrockets! ! Laughing face. Like, what is going on in this fucking movie, dude? It's so crazy.
Oh, dude, I didn't even catch the news clipping articles. I wish I would have though.
It's because it's in those B movie montages where it's like there's no focus. It's just things like kind of casually.
Oh yeah, like as she's
becoming
singing.
Fully visible to being transparent and like popping in and out, and it's just like it's like a headache.
It's visual noise.
Those montages are so bad. But so post time skip, Caesar is I wrote, he's going through whatever it is he's suffering mentally, because at this point, he's crazy and he's really obsessed with Megalopolis, but unless, again, you're a fucking major in philosophy, it's hard to really grasp at the reasoning, because all his lines are in philosophy and it's not even like they're speaking in old Roman tongue, because I could catch on to that. That makes sense to me. It's just Shakespearean. It's Shakespearean shit, man.
It's Shakespearean shit, but more confusing, because I can somewhat understand Shakespearean shit. I like The Witch. I can understand some
me
Shakespeare.
too.
But they were speaking in tongue the whole time, which is why it was so hard to get behind Caesar and Julia at all, because their entire conversation and relationship was that.
Right. Yeah. So the emotional attachment there definitely missed the mark for me as well. I agree with you.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah, that's kind of where it kind of goes from here. Is the next scene post montage is them basically following in love. Right. They're on the support beams above the city. It's actually a gorgeous scene.
I like that scene.
There's like a shot where she's holding his hand and it only shows her upper waist, and then like he's kind of like kneeling down, like grabbing her and like bringing her up, like kind of symbolizing him pulling her into his world. And I was like, wow, if this is the best shot of the movie, and I still think it is.
I agree with you.
And that was also in the trailer. Unfortunately, all the best scenes are in the fucking trailer.
Because that's the only one. Yeah, it makes sense. That's the only ones that could fucking market.
It's the only ones that they did successfully. Yeah, and the vision was mostly complete. He's having trouble stopping time. That's kind of like the main plot point here. He's having trouble stopping time. Julia says, "Why don't you stop time for me?" And that clicks it on for him. And it's like his love for her turns on this power again, which I guess you could kind of dive into the love being the origin of his power, you know?
Oh, you see, I didn't even think about love. I just think that they were one. Like, he was one again and whole.
Yeah, okay. So he needed another to make himself whole. He couldn't be whole by himself. Yeah.
Hopefully. I mean, that kind of makes sense.
Maybe. Yeah, no, we're grasping at straws here, but I think we're doing decent.
I think the best we can.
Yeah, the best we can on the first viewing of an incredibly wacky, wild movie. So yeah, they're over here making out. Time has stopped. They're over the city. It's very beautiful, and then it kind of just jumps into Caesar knocking down more buildings. Just boom.
You're dead.
You're fired.
You're fired.
Get out of here. And obviously people are angry because he's fucking blowing up projects. He's taking people's homes. Claudio happens to be here. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. I guess he's going there to see the noise, and he takes the opportunity to kind of start his political rebranding. So I would say, again, we kind of touched on this earlier, about halfway through the film, he kind of hops into the politics, which I guess this is halfway. It's honestly hard to remember exactly where this falls into.
I would say about, you'd probably at this point you probably have like an hour 15 left. So
okay.
about halfway.
So yeah, he's talking about votes. He's talking about becoming a political opponent, which I guess is his way of like again continuing to stand up against Caesar, who apparently bounced back from not only being a convicted murderer but a once convicted pedophile. Now he's just out here doing his thing again. Like there's no stopping fucking Caesar from following his dream of building Megalopolis.
No one can stop the driver.
Damn it! I forgot to mention something earlier. The first shot of this movie, I believe, or no, it's post like Megalopolis, a fable, is a random Soviet satellite floating in space, which is never explained. And I actually did, one of my first notes was, it was Soviets are surveying with satellites. Okay. Like, because again, not touched on at all. And it's definitely a little thing they planted into the plot early on, which
I once again forgot about the fucking satellite.
At this point, just comes down booming into the city. And again, we get Jason Schwartzman, like only line in the whole movie, which is kind of it's kind of like a awkwardly funny scene when he comes to Cicero and he's like, "Sir, the satellite will not be landing in blah, 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 blah." And he's like, "Where will it be landing?" He's like, "We don't know."
Oh.
And it's like, "Oh, fuck, it's going to be landing here." And then literally in the background window, you start to see pieces fall down and the city gets destroyed. And there is some kind of interesting imagery there where it shows people kind of like the shadows of people on skyscrapers. In red and black, you know what I'm talking about? And they're like they're hiding. They're like, oh god, like they're getting ready to die. Let's just put it that way, because a bunch of fucking people are about to get killed. And this kind of enables Caesar. Oh, wow. Look, all this fucking land just got destroyed. Great.
Lucky
now
me.
I can build Megalopolis, and
Lucky
I didn't have to fucking kill anybody. Woo!
So that's Satellite.
Took out the plebs for me. Good job, Soviets.
Satellite was pretty much like that was the only plot point, is so Caesar can keep his hands, clean. Not relatively super clean, but like you said, don't have to kill anybody.
And they don't really touch on the fact that there was a huge meteor that just fell on the city. Like that it's never like talked about in a serious way.
That's why I keep forgetting
it just
about
moves on from this super quickly.
Super, super fast.
Yeah. Again, there has to have been like some shit cut out from that.
Oh yeah.
And a lot was cut out. I mean, again, we can't stress how much this movie incohesive.
I was about to say it's just
is
incoherent.
pieced together.
Man. It's just so incoherent.
We get another montage, except this one is actually, I thought, well done. And it's very pretty to look at, and it has that great shot in the trailer where it shows him have some sort of like lightsaber looking pickaxe from Minecraft. Looks like it's like a pickaxe but like a lightsaber. I don't know what the fuck it is. And
he's
the
holding it in the poster.
Starts. Yes, that thing. Yeah, so that is a really cool visual.
It is.
And it's him like, he's constructing Megalopolis. Like it is becoming real. He's brainstorming. We're seeing a lot of what is Megalon, this new material, this jellyfish-like substance starting to be kind of twirl into a city. His design authority is basically having like youth group team building games, and apparently it's helping them build a city. Remember they're like climbing on each other, and he's like maintain the form. It's like, I was like, what the, is this some interpretive dance? Like, what the fuck?
No, so I kind of took it as they were doing that, like he was picturing the buildings, I guess, like intertwining.
Yeah.
And shit. That's what I was picturing, but it was still weird.
Seems super silly.
It's very, very silly. But very, very quickly he's able to open his, like, not open, but he makes enough to where you can, you remember he was having like tests.
Yes, they kind of get to into a model version of the city. But before that, there is a very important reveal, which is during this brainstorm session when he's building Megalon. We discovered that he initially discovered Megalon somehow when his wife died. And we learned that the reason she died is because she committed suicide. She thought he was cheating on her, so she drove off a bridge, and he was following her. So there's a lot of people getting followed in this movie. Anyway, and he went and tried to save her. And when he was trying to save her and he watched her die, he somehow discovered Megalon. It's not explained more than that. That's all we get. All we get.
Which because I'll be until hearing that. Like I remember the story about him following her and everything. Watch it. Did not know he discovered created.
It's super easy to
completely.
Miss.
Like I said, at this point, I'm gone. So that completely went over my head.
So yeah, I mean the Megalopolis, it was cool. Like it kind of reminded me of like the ship at the end of Interstellar, where it's like you don't know exactly what you're looking at, but it's kind of cool.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Emerald City.
And that's another good way to put it.
That's what I was thinking. But that's
and Emerald City actually makes way more sense than what I'm saying. I was just kind of relating it to it being a vision of the future
visually
that we have never seen before. And a lot of the budget, I think, went into that material. Again, it makes it look it's like they're living in a dream. Again, like Emerald City, it's like a dream, And again, the walls are made out of this fabric that's kind of floating in the air, and it expands as you need it to. Yeah, it kind of is like they're living in a big tent, but a shiny tent it's like they're in heaven almost,
right. This dreamlike area.
So obviously there is throughout this film a lot of tension and a lot of rants that we've skipped in our breakthrough of Cicero versus Caesar, like their philosophies attacking each other. And obviously Julia is his daughter, so there is some family tension. And for the first time we see them all sit down as a family inside of Megalopolis, which is probably a really big deal for Julius Caesar versus Cicero to like kind of be meeting up together. And we learn that Julia's pregnant. Cicero at this point is still very much against Caesar. He can't accept this. He doesn't want her to love him. And in the next scene, he actually basically he offers Caesar evidence that the case was rigged against him in the case of him murdering his wife, and that he would give him evidence that he lied in court and defamed him, and if he would leave his daughter, which he doesn't do.
Of course not.
He doesn't take that.
No, he burns the letter. I don't know if you called that.
He does? Okay.
Yeah, so there's one of the many montages in this movie of images going across the screen with a Caesar monologue of him like going through it, and you don't see him actually lighting it on fire, but you see the letter itself like burning. So I took it as he burned the letter.
And at this point, Claudius is very much like one of the political opponents. Like he's the third voice.
Yes.
Except his voice is not based on philosophy at all. It's strictly hatred against Caesar. He wants Caesar gone. And again, if you know the story of Julius Caesar, who is famously assassinated, for me, I saw the film going there. I did not see it going there that quick though, because the next scene, pop, Caesar's dead.
Question. We thought because he got
it
shot
would
in the
make
fucking
sense
eye.
right through the fucking dome, but apparently Megalon can bring you back to life.
Bring you back to life, and that bring you back to life and give you a whole new eye, like a whole new just this side of your face. And we laughed. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
When he took the bandage off, and it was his shit looked like, I know it's not, but it looks like space.
He's got a space half face.
He's got a space
and then like
face.
next scene, his face is back to normal.
It's back to normal.
Like that didn't
makes no fucking sense, dude.
Honestly, I missed that, and then I noticed. I guess it was probably a time skip that happened again because there's so many fucking time skips.
You're right, because the baby's born.
The baby's
next.
So yeah,
you're correct. There is another time skip.
There's a time skip in between him. So, okay, also unfolding during this time where he's kind of really out of it. Like, he's, like, not even really fully there. I guess his brain's still kind of healing because of the fucking, bullet that went through it. And his accounts are frozen by Wow Platinum. I love that name so much.
I feel like that's
Wow
her.
Platinum.
Wow Platinum.
She fucking hates Caesar as well. And so her and Claudius pretty much team up. They freeze his bank account. He has to go ask them why his bank account is frozen. His bank is ran by Hamilton, his billionaire uncle. This is...
I was about to say, like, are you going to bring... Because, how do they come to an agreement, Josh? How does Wow and Claudio, what is their negotiation scene? I knew, was it intense?
Oh, it was intense.
It was intense.
It was the most intense scene of the movie.
Again, it should have been me.
We get the absolutely steamiest sex scene that Miss Plaza has probably ever acted in. Manipulates him using her body.
I think we all would have.
Into turning against Caesar, turning against his own father. So basically, he tries to take over the company. Old Hamilton is playing dumb, I guess.
Yeah, no, he is.
He is, which is not. It's not really.
It's like one quick shot of John Voight talking normal, and then they walk in, and he immediately is like...
It's like the old guy from the old Maester in Game of Thrones of King's Landing, and how he's always walking really slow, but then there's that one scene where he's having sex, and he's like doing squats, and then the next scene you see him acting all old again. Like, that's kind of what John Voight was doing with this character at this point. And there's...
Our minds are so you went there, and you know where I went?
What?
Do you know the meme? Oh, it's not a meme. It's like a clip of an old guy. He's like, "Oh, call the ambulance, but not for me."
Yeah,
so
that's exactly what this is.
That's where my mind went, and I was just like, I hate my head sometimes. It just goes to these random ass fucking memes.
So Wow Platinum walks in wearing basically nothing, which.
Thank you,
Steamy.
Plaza.
And John Voight, he says, "You see this boner?"
I forgot about that.
He's like, "This is what I get anytime I see her." And Claudia, it's important to say that Claudia is also in the room with them. And he's like, "This is what I have to give to you." And this motherfucker,
it's not a boner.
This motherfucker pulls out a little bitty toy,
dude,
a toy bow and arrow, bro,
a little bit bigger than this, guys.
This is the worst.
It's the dumbest shit
part of this movie. Like the most B movie amateur hour fucking shot of him shooting Wow Platinum. It impales her chest. She is immediately killed. And you see this guy. He's like this. Like he's like in bed doing this.
Oh, and I'm pretty sure he's even going like it's. I mean, it looks like a toy arrow.
And it never shows him pull the arrow back. Like, it shows her get killed, it goes back to him, and he's fully loaded. And then he shoots Claudia, And then it shows Claudio get shot in the ass. Goes back to him. He's ready again, and he lets another one fly.
And dude, the thing is like, Claudio is like when he initially shoots Platinum Aubrey Plaza, Claudio is standing right there by the bed.
Yeah.
So like, just he's old, dude. Just take it from him. Just take the shit from him. But he just. But like you said, it just cuts to him and he's already loaded.
There's no drama in the production of this scene.
God,
I mean,
no,
if
man.
you want to take a
comedy,
great scene
man.
where someone gets killed by an arrow, again, I have to go to Game of Thrones and Tywin killing his father on the toilet. And
Tyrion.
Tyrion killing Tywin. The way it shows him load every bullet, and it gives the space of the scene, or it gives the scene space to breathe to where it feels real. This had the opposite of that. Like, it was quick cuts of him shooting him in a scene that should have been one of the most important parts of the scene, like the end of WoW and Claudia survives, but it's the end of WoW Platinum, who was the main character's storyline here, and it's treated comically.
Oh, it was straight comedy.
Was it meant to be funny?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I'm really thinking about it.
I'm
genuinely thinking about that question. No, I really don't.
I don't know, man.
Because I don't think there's any real intentional comedy in that movie other than like a couple of lines that we talked about, like Jason Schwartzman's lines. But in that moment, it to me, it completely comes off as like, oh, this is a twist. He's really not, disabled. He's actually like, he got the jump on him the whole time.
Yeah.
And so, no, yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that was played for a comedy. I wish it was, because it would have made it better.
Hamilton leaves everything to Caesar. So Caesar's got the bank. Obviously, it's kind of at this point, it's like he's gonna succeed because he's got all of Hamilton's money. And the next scene, I will only have one more sentence written for the rest of this movie, guys.
I can't wait.
So if the fact that we've jumped to the end at this point, it's like, how did we get here? Nobody knows. But at this point, they've been working hard on Megalopolis because kind of out of nowhere, it goes from being one little area to the city's ready to go, bro. Like the whole area where the explosion happened is all Megalopolis now. Caesar starts giving a speech, and for some reason, it shows like, I'm assuming who are great speakers. I don't recognize most of them, but it does start off with Adolf Hitler. I was really curious why the end success. I'm
just thinking about what you're saying as you're saying it.
The successful speech of him winning is an image of Hitler. And I did see a post on Twitter where someone was like, "Is this really how we end Megalopolis?" And it's the shot of Hitler. And I'm like, it didn't click for me until it happened, and I was like, wow, what the fuck is the message, Coppola? What the fuck are we doing here? I'm sorry, I'm derailed, but
no, I'm actually don't be sorry, because I never fucking I remember seeing the image of Hitler, but it didn't click for me that this was like one of the last shots of the movie. Like after it climaxed, it didn't click with me at the moment until you're saying
ends.
It just fucking ends.
The conflict with Cicero resolves off screen. We don't know.
And I think it's very important to how it's off screen, because before this, before the last scene where the conflicts ended, the previous scene where Cicero where he was talking about Caesar was not kind to him still, and was still very damning of his actions.
And he just flips.
And it just in the very next scene, no explanation, no build up. It's just script says so that they're gonna end in a parting, ways, and that's how it just ends.
And Claudio, for some reason, at this point, is beaten by his bandits
and hung up.
Yeah, which again, I don't really understand why they turned against him at this point. Maybe I'm guessing it had something to do with Caesar's speech. I don't know.
I guess so, but why would they want to kill him and beat him?
He just had a bad. He got shot in the ass. His girlfriend died, and then he
had
just
a bad
hung up.
day.
He's over. He's done.
This is really quick, and if you don't have anything, if we can move on, that's fine, because I know we're at the end here. But another thing that neither one of us have talked about off camera or on here, what the fuck was up with Shia, with Claudio's friend taking over for one scene? You don't remember Claudio goes in and his friend with the tattoo on his head is like sitting in Hamilton's seat, and he has like all the women around him, and he's just like, he doesn't say the words "I'm in charge," but he basically gives like a speech like "I'm in charge now," and like Claudio gets pissed off and punches the picture, and that just never happens again or never gets brought up, and he's just like Shia LaBeouf's number 2 again for the rest of the movie.
Right, because he was mad that they assassinated Caesar. He didn't want them to assassinate Caesar. He took it upon themselves to do that. I guess he was like, I'm the man in charge now. I don't know, bro. I do not know.
I know. I was just asking if you had any more insight to that, because that's a part that we didn't talk about. It just so confused me. One of the many things.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to break this down in Julius Caesar storyline terms, right? It's almost like a flip on to flip the story. Like, all right, Caesar didn't die; he was brought back to life. If Caesar didn't die, well, in the Roman history, right? So Cassius and Brutus, who are the ones who put together, the assassination on Caesar, they end up being later on murdered, right? So, and turned against. So I guess this kind of represents just that happening at a quicker pace, since Caesar is still alive and his dream is going to come true of Megalopolis, right? So, and that's the end of the movie.
And it just ends.
Yeah, Cicero is friends. They have their baby. The baby stops time at the end there.
It sure does. Did you hear what I said at the end?
No.
So like the baby's like, they put the baby down on like this carpet thing, right? Which I don't think.
He's gonna fly away like Aladdin or some shit.
I was like, I was like, please fly away on that thing.
I was ready for that too. At that point, it was like anything could happen.
Anything can happen at this point.
Yeah, that would not have made any difference, dude.
No.
But when the movie ended, I did look at the few people in the theater's faces, and it was the driest, just lifeless expressions. Just. And I know we all had the same thought.
We did.
What did we just watch?
What the fuck did we just watch?
And I think through our conversation, I have come to understand a little bit more of what we've come
me
to
too.
watch.
No, me too. Just not a lot, but more.
Yeah.
Like more.
And that's why I'm glad that we do this.
Me too.
Spoiler-free review, guys. Please watch the rest of this video and podcast once you see the movie, because we had a good time talking about it despite the technical difficulties that we suffered, and I think that we came to understand it, not at a movie explained level, but enough to we bounced some ideas around, and I think we came to maybe even appreciate this movie a weensy bit more. But Jay, do you want to kind of break down your overall feelings now that we've digested Megalopolis?
Sure. So one, I definitely really appreciated this conversation a lot, because it really did help me understand a little bit more. Not fully, but a little bit. It contextualized some stuff. That being said, I just really did not like this movie. It is what it is. I liked parts of it. I like some of the visuals. I think that it's hard to say I think the cast worked. I think they did good. I didn't like what they had to work with, but I appreciated some of the ideas. I really do. But this is a perfect example of somebody's studio heads need to be involved in some movies, and there's definitely some people that should have tapped.
It makes sense why no one wanted to finance this in the first place.
Absolutely. But I didn't think it was a horrible watch for the most part. I'm not gonna lie, that last hour was rough for me. I did not enjoy that last hour at all. But having said all that, worth a watch. Honestly, it's worth. I think it's worth the conversation, just because it's coming from such an iconic voice in Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah,
and
it's a conversation piece.
It is,
and I think
for
that
sure.
Coppola deserves your $8.
I agree.
Maybe just be able to retire with some comfortable funds, because the man's probably broke.
After this movie, I think he will be, unfortunately.
He might go bankrupt off Megalopolis. Which is so sad.
It is sad, man. It is I really don't take any pleasure saying that it is one of the most incoherent movies I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And I gave it 1.5 stars, because I think it's
1.5.
I think it's dog shit for the most part. I really do. Unfortunately,
I'm gonna have such a hard time assigning a rating. I'm not gonna do it right now.
I respect that.
I
don't take
found
pleasure
enjoyment in the movie. Again, there are some parts where I was like, truly, this is beautiful. Truly, this sounds amazing. Adam Driver was going all the way. I loved Plaza in this movie as Platinum.
I do too.
I do
too.
Her and Shia LaBeouf seem to have probably had the most amount of fun. And Driver takes it seriously. You know, he's
commits.
giving the scenes the emotion needed. And I'll say Julia, what's her I always call her Missandei. What's the actress's name? Nathalie Emmanuel as Julia Cicero. Also fantastic. Loved her in Game of Thrones. She was great. John Voight, honestly, unintentionally funniest fucking dude with that scene. Lawrence Fishburne did not get to flex his chops at all. Catherine Hunter did not get to flex her chops at all. And also a direct tie-in to the TV show Rome is Catherine Hunter, and she.
That's cool. Who she plays in the Rome?
She plays Cleopatra's like right-hand slave.
Oh, that's cool.
And you can't say assistant because it's definitely a slave. But Jason Schwartzman wasn't even really in this movie, but. Yeah, I mean, cast, and again, so I guess what I'm saying is, please go watch this movie. I want you guys to give Francis Ford Coppola your money. And you know what? If 2 hours of your time can't be wasted, what is life, you know?
What is life?
Throw away those 2 hours, guys. You will come out with an interesting, you can tell people I saw an interesting movie, and it'd be very true, because I think it's hella interesting.
I think it's interesting, and it's something that I don't think you ever forget. Like, no. I don't think some of the imagery in this movie and the
reason I can't commit to like a low rating like QJ is because I low key do want to see this again. Not tomorrow, but I at some point I want to see this again. And if there's a director's cut, that's another thing. This is Francis Ford fucking Coppola we're talking about.
That's true.
This movie, this has a lot of cuts. This has a lot of fucking cuts.
And we watched the original
We watched
cut.
the final cut, I believe. Or did we watch the original?
No, I think we watched the original because
Damn.
not to get on Apocalypse Now thing, but doesn't the director's cut have a...
You're right. The final cut does
whole
have...
romance.
It has an extra 40 minutes in the movie, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll get that, and maybe it will help some things make a little bit more sense, which for me is what I need, because I'm a huge historian nerd. I love Rome. I love all of that shit. I love the metaphors and the similarities that he's trying to bring through here. So if they could really drive home the Cicero versus Caesar plot and like flesh that out in the last act, I think that I could find some more enjoyment here. So I can't hate it because I don't hate it. I had a lot of fun talking about it, but I can't recommend someone see it as like a good movie. Just as like a
conversational piece.
Francis Ford fucking Coppola released a movie. Go see it.
Right.
You know?
And he's a voice that I think more than earned, like we talked about at the beginning of this video, more than has earned your time. And right. At least like your attempt.
And the movie may not be for you. It may not be for anybody but the old man himself. But the old man delivered 2 of the most iconic movies of all time. And I'm happy to give him my money.
He sure did. And you know what? I think we said this at the beginning too, but I'm happy for him. I'm happy. I am with all sincerity, I'm happy that he made his passion project for him, and that feels like it's for him. I really am happy.
Yeah, me too, man. And I've been anticipating this day for a long time. I've been really looking forward to Megalopolis, and the conversation did not disappoint.
I was about to say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, this conversation, because I think you had touched on it, but we were just not sure how to tackle this movie at all.
No.
And if you've seen it, you know why.
And we had a lot of trouble getting started, and I think that we did. This to me may be my favorite episode.
I think this is my favorite conversation we've had.
It's going to be a hell of an episode to cut because of the technical difficulties, but you know what? I'm gonna get to it. Jordan, what's coming out next weekend?
So next weekend is, I think, Joker.
No, really?
Yes.
Damn.
Now that I'm thinking about it, next week is Joker 2.
Another movie getting panned.
Yeah, another movie that is almost exactly like this.
You think so?
Well, that's from what I've read, the reviews I've read, good and bad. I've read it's either going to be loved or hated by people. Like I've read that same thing.
It's 1:08 a.m. We have been struggling with this, but we got through it.
And I'm glad we did. This was so
man.
much. This was a blast to film.
Episode 5.
Episode 5 is going quick, man.
Michael fucking Bay.
Michael. We end every episode with that. Michael fucking Bay.
Well, thank you guys for watching.
Thanks, guys.
See y'all later.
Peace. Go see Megalopolis.
Do it.